As first responders, all of us have been or will eventually be exposed to rescues that are especially complicated, life-threatening, objectively traumatic, or that, for other reasons, stick with us long after the all clear should have sounded. Rescues like these can be traumatizing to the point that they challenge, compromise, and sometimes overwhelm our capacity to cope and to function effectively. When this happens, a post-traumatic stress injury, a PTSI, or more simply put, a stress injury, can be sustained. As illustrated here in the responder stress continuum, which we'll see more of later on, stress injuries are characterized by common, predictable, and most of all, normal post-event reactions, that is, feelings, thoughts, and behaviors that we don't routinely experience in our day-to-day lives. Stress injury can challenge your coping capacity and result in the signs and symptoms shown in the yellow or reacting column, or they can compromise coping and put you in the orange or the injured column. And if your ability to cope is overwhelmed, you may exhibit the issues seen in the red or critical column. Sometimes stress injury is mild and transitory, but at other times it may be profound and long lasting, and it can be aggravated by other stressful life circumstances. Lastly, stress injury may result from a single traumatizing event, but it is also often the result of repeated trauma exposures that build up and accumulate over longer periods of time. Either way, when stress injury is not well managed and mitigated, serious physical and mental health problems can develop. 20% of firefighters and other first responders, as compared to only 7% of the general population, will eventually meet the diagnostic criteria for PTSD at some point in their careers. And we're not only talking about full-blown post-traumatic stress disorder. A significantly higher number of first responders experience symptoms that do not meet the diagnostic criteria for PTSD, as well as developing a number of other serious mental health issues. For example, depression will affect about 8% of the general population, but more than 20% of firefighters. 37% of EMS personnel and firefighters will think about suicide. That's more than 10 times the rate in average Americans. And more than 70% of volunteer agencies report they have difficulty staffing due to increased call volume and difficulty recruiting and retaining personnel. This table is from a 2011 study titled Sleep Problems, Depression, Substance Use, Social Bonding, and Quality of Life in Professional Firefighters. To me, the most striking finding is that 60% of those surveyed reported sleep disturbance and binge drinking at rates higher than either depression or poor mental well-being. I looked at quite a few different studies getting ready for this class, and all but one involved career firefighters. The one that didn't was called Differences in Psychiatric Symptoms and Barriers to Mental Health Care Between Volunteer and Career Firefighters. It compares 204 volunteers and 321 career firefighters. And the findings are, to me, more than a little disturbing. Volunteer firefighters, in fact, report higher levels of depression, post-traumatic stress, and suicidality than their career counterparts. On the upside, they report lower levels of problematic alcohol use. One of the possible reasons given is that volunteer firefighters also report greater barriers to mental health care, specifically the cost and the availability of appropriate resources. Whether volunteer or career, these findings are, to say the least, disquieting. To quote my colleagues at the All Clear Foundation, all responders, uniformed or not, hospital or field-based, sworn or unsworn, career or volunteer, seasonal, rural or urban, remote or deployed, are susceptible to these impacts. unless we train to protect ourselves. That's why I'm here today, to do what I can by way of education, preparation, and developing resilience to prevent profound stress injury and its mental health sequelae.